Hello everyone, I'm doing this video to try and help some other people out there that have come across the same problem I have, which is using Corsair RGB fans with ASUS Aura. Now the method that I have done does not require any third-party software like Jacknet RGB and does not use ICUE software, but yeah, I'm still fully able to control all of the RGB fans through ASUS Aura software. Now this method is a hardwired method, and it still allows you to fully individually control each LED on each of the fans, still have full control, and doesn't cause any conflict and is hardwired in. I'll try to explain the best I can, and I'm sorry that I'm recording this on my mobile phone. So first of all, I'll show you my setup. You can see I have 3 fans down the bottom, 3 fans on the side, and 2 cooler fans. And you can see quite nicely they're flowing, colours are following each other, so they are not mimicking anything else that's going on the motherboard. They're individually controlled through ASUS Aura. I'll show you some more effects shortly. So what I've done is I've taken the 5-volt RGB addressable header from the motherboard. There should be 2 of these. I just get the manual. As you can see here, addressable header. Do not use the 12-volt header as you will destroy the LEDs. Use the addressable header. So you've got one at the top there, if your motherboard supports it, and another one down the bottom here. So I've connected onto this one, as I intend to use the top one for some RGB strip. So I've used the bottom one just for the fans. And remember, do not use the 12-volt RGB header. That will not work and it will destroy your LEDs. Only use the 5-volt. Okay, so I've got 8 fans. 6 are the RGB Corsair LL120 fans, and the other 2 came with my Corsair cooler. So what I've done is I've connected from the motherboard with the cable supplied. I brought these cable connections off Amazon, only a few pounds for a handful of them. So here we have 5-volt cable, then the next cable, pin 2, is the data cable from the motherboard, and that top cable there is the ground cable. Here I am only using the data and the ground. What I've done is then I've come off here, gone straight into one of these Corsair RGB Control Modules. So this is the same one. I've just opened it up and I'll show you why in a minute. So that is the same one there. And you can see that I have 8 RGB fans connected. So I have the input here, and then I have fan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now both of these are connected straight into the 5-volt, so you don't need to worry about adding any more power to it, because all of the power for the fans is coming from these. Same on that one there, which has gone over there to a 5-volt. And the thing to remember is that what this actually does, this unit, is a series loop for the ground and for the data. So if you disconnect one that's in the start of the line, like this, if I disconnect number 1, sorry, trying to do this one-handed. There, I've disconnected it. You'll see that all of the other fans will stop working. The RGB is now no longer controlled. That's because there's a series loop. What that box does is create a series loop for the data. So I'll try to explain it the best way I can. Let me just plug this back in. So these here are my 2 Corsair RGB control modules. Here is my 5 volts from my 5-volt RGB addressable header that comes from the motherboard. So what actually happens is 5-volt comes in, it goes to number 1. it loops around the fan, and comes back in on data in. Then that is sent over to number 2. The data loops around and back in and to number 3, and so on, and it does this all the way around each of the fans. But the problem is when you get to number 6, when the loop comes back in from number 5, goes into number 6, goes around the fan, and then it's dead because there's nothing else to continue the loop going on. So what I did was, which is why this is open, is I soldered onto the back of it, just here. You can see that I've connected into data in, because that's the data coming back in from the fan. So I've connected into the data in and taken the ground and connected it back off into the start of this one, the next one. And this is how you keep the addressable RGB loop, so you can control each of the individual LEDs on the fans. So the data comes in off the motherboard into fan 1, goes around fan 1, back out into fan 2, back out into fan 3, and then it does that all the way around this unit, and then goes to 6. So what I've done is I've taken this loop where I soldered onto the back of the RGB controller, and then I have gone over here with the connection, data in and ground, and taken the ground from here. So then that powers these. So all of these will also be in a series loop, because you've continued the data line that's coming out of fan 6. Now you've got to remember that ASUS Aura will only allow you to control 120 individual LEDs. In my case I have 104, because the 2 cooler fans only have 4 LEDs each, as the LL120 fans have 16 each. So in total I'm using 104 LEDs. Now as long as you don't exceed this limit, you can continue and add more fans onto these and continue the data chain around. Now you must remember that all of these, ASUS Aura uses a protocol called WS1282B or something like that, something similar to that, and so do Corsair fans. And if anything that is RGB addressable uses that same protocol, you can continue using any RGB product that has that protocol in it. All you have to do is just connect it straight up to the motherboard. So you can see that I've connected straight onto the motherboard, all the way through there, onto the addressable header, which is down under there, where that white cable is. Bit hard to see. And I'm controlling them all through ASUS Aura. I'll give you a little demo. Just going back to ASUS Aura here, you can see here LED strip 1, I have no strip put in yet, but LED 2, you just go into the settings tab, select the addressable header, and select how many LEDs are in there. And now I can individually control them. So I can have static, just had it on rainbow, flash and dash. And because you've done it through the data loop system, you haven't paralleled any of the fans, so they are not mimicking each other. They are all individually controlled. Wave. Starry Night. I think the rainbow gives you the best idea to show you how they are all individually controlled. So you can see that it's starting on fan 1, colour flows.